Welcome, everyone, to the official first Yavneh podcast, actually recorded in our new podcast/sound booth. I'm here with a very special guest today, Rabbi Cowen. Rabbi Cowen, it's great to have you here. We'll just cut this music down. Why are we here, Rabbi Cowen?
Excellent question. It's probably got to do with you inviting me to come on.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about Purim.
Yes, Purim. Yes, let's have some applause for that. Ready? Oh, no, wrong one. Whoops. Okay. Where are the applause?
I think you need to employ someone to...
There we go. Yes, we do. Purim, yes. So, I've got a couple of questions for you, Rabbi Cowen. Been here at Yavneh for many years, and I've probably heard the story many times of Purim, and our viewers know it as well. But for me, who's been here a long time, I just want to ask you, Rabbi Cowen, what is Purim about, in a nutshell?
There's no such thing as a nutshell answer to anything.
Okay.
But I'd say if you had to give a nutshell to Purim, it's about the bringing together of human strategy and godly intervention.
Right.
And how we are partners with God.
Gotcha.
In all the things that happen in this world.
So that's kind of, you're taking us back to the past in a way, like... Can you take us back to the past and tell me when was the first Purim, Rav?
It's a great question. I can tell you the episode of Purim itself occurred about 580 or so before the Common Era.
Gotcha.
That was in Persia, in fact. And the first time it was celebrated, I believe, was actually the following year after the genocidal threat that faced the Jews was sort of alleviated.
Right.
That's the right word. And the next year they turned that day into a day of feasting and celebration, and it's just Jewish people. A lot of our joy comes from the anticlimaxes where we've had this massive threat looming overhead.
Yeah,
and that threat's sort of gone away.
Gotcha. So, I mean, look, all week at Yavneh here, where every day is like different hat day, shoes. Today I got it a bit incorrect. It said accessories. I thought it meant shirt. That's why I'm dressed in my Hawaiian shirt. But would you say, I mean, I'm going to ask this question later on, but I might as well just ask it now. Is it one of the in the top 5 of biggest days, like grand final days for Jewish festivals? Is it up there?
I think if you ask my kids, they would tell you it's their number one.
Number one.
Jewish festival.
That is a huge call, Rav, because there's some big, come on, what about Yom Ha'atzmaut?
No, it depends on your metrics. So it depends what you see and what you look for in a festival. But if for you a festival is a day of just going crazy and, everything being topsy-turvy and eating lots of nash, then today's your day, or not today, Purim's your day. If you like other things like Yom Ha'atzmaut, that sort of speaks more to the idea of wow, God's sort of here in the modern time of history, and that's very exciting of seeing Hashem's presence.
Gotcha.
Sort of in the here and now. But Purim, as far as one of the old festivals, definitely rates as certainly the top 10. I think there's only 10, so they're all in the top 10.
Okay.
But probably number one. For many people.
Number 1, that is huge. There's a top 10, but there is 10 major festivals, and it makes number 1 for your kids. That is huge. For me, I mean, being a Yavneh for a while now, over 10 years, it's up there. But the question, again, some rabbi or someone's answered this question for me in the staff room, but I can't remember the answer. Rav, what's with the costumes?
So I'm going to give you another answer that you'll never remember.
Okay.
And the costumes are about the idea of disguise and how what seems one way on the outside is different on the inside.
Gotcha.
And how our world looks like it's a world of chance. It looks like it's a world where there isn't sort of an ordering at hand that is sort of making everything orderly.
Okay.
But the story of Purim is that actually beneath that exterior is a caring, God who is looking out for us, who's caring for us, and that's sort of like beneath the mask. Actually, I've got a question for you.
Yes, Rav.
I came across a line the other day, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this line.
Okay, I'll get you to speak right into the mic though.
Yeah,
sorry, because they're condenser mics, and that's the way they work. Right in. Perfect. Go ahead.
By the 8th, vodcast, we should be perfect.
Yes.
So the quote, and it's not a Jewish quote, goes like this. It says, "Give a man a mask, and you will meet their true self." What do you think?
Give the man a mask and they'll meet their true self.
You will meet their true self.
And you will give the man a mask and you will meet your true self.
No, their true self.
Their true self.
Okay, forget it.
So wait, give the man a mask. So if I gave Batman a mask.
No, Batman already is in a mask. If you give a human being a mask.
Yes.
So basically, if they can go incognito.
Yep.
What will come out is their truest self.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. So in a way, linking it back to Batman, he wears a mask to disguise himself, but he protects the innocent. And he's got his own set of rules and morals. We wear masks, out there when we can't distance, and we're distanced now. That's fine. Yes, they're right here. So
Absolutely.
very ironic of the mask. But give the man a mask, and he'll show you his true self. Correct?
Yes.
So I think that could be right, because people, in a way, do wear masks in life to sometimes hide their true selves. But the good people, maybe they wear masks to show us who they really are, because do they just want to be anonymous? Is that what we're trying to say?
Well, does anonymity bring out the best or the worst in people, or does it bring out a truth in a person? I mean, take a look at YouTube comments. Right?
Yes.
Often anonymous. Can you do a YouTube comment unanonymously?
Well, Rav, I know someone who's got a YouTube channel. And no, well, you have to have an actual YouTube account. Now, you can make one up and call yourself something ridiculous, but yeah.
Why do you think they instituted that? Why did they not want people to comment anonymously?
Because, this is deep. Because, again, they're hiding behind a mask if it's anonymous.
I think this is I happen to disagree.
That's why, Rav, it's just mind-blowing. Had to use the sound effects.
The mind-blowing part is yet to come, perhaps. Because I was thinking that I think there's a compelling argument that when a person is anonymous, something comes out which is often not so nice, and people would say that's their true self.
Yeah.
I disagree. I actually think people's faces give them a sense of identity, and when your face is on display, you pick up your game. Like when you're on TV. Or when you're doing a vodcast, like people are looking at you, and you're like, "This is my reputation at stake." You actually become a better person.
Yes.
When you're hiding behind a mask of anonymity, let's say you're a YouTube commenter with no account.
Yeah.
So you have no account.
Yep.
Get it?
Exactly. No account. Get it? That is a good one. Wait, hang on. Where is it? And wait. Yep. Rim shot.
Perfect. So I think that the idea of a mask can bring out the worst in a person.
Yeah.
But Purim is the opposite. It's actually about the mask kind of bringing out the best in us. It's saying that, hey, let's remember that everything's a mask.
Yeah.
And the deepest core is the good.
Gotcha.
The external stuff is not necessarily perfect, but behind it all is good. And we live in a world where it's often hard to see the hand of Hashem, but we know it's there. We know it's behind the scenes, and we know He's got our back.
But Rav, that leads me to this. So costumes, got that. But in prayers, now I've taken many tefillah duties during Purim, right? And it's always a big, festive, different type of prayers duty, okay? An hour and a half, 2 hours, what it is. However, there's a lot of noise. Yeah, like there's praying, but then there's also, every now and then, there's like a big ruach. Is that the right word? Or is everyone laughing at me? There's a big ruach whenever there's one word, and there's like the shaking of these noise machines. What is going on there? It's like every time there's one word said, there's just a big ruach.
Yes, that's the name Haman. So there is the sort of the villain.
Should we be saying his name? Is it like Voldemort in Harry Potter?
Yeah, you can say his name. We don't.
Haman.
We're not worried about there being any power through his name.
Well, there you go.
But actually, you know what? I think you, Michael, you're a deeply spiritually sensitive person.
Yeah.
Because I have an issue. I'm just going to tell you my issue. It goes like this.
Go ahead.
Whenever the person saying the Megillah says the word Haman, right? So that's the noise you hear. Everyone makes their noise. And now, you're not allowed to miss out on hearing any words in the Megillah.
Right.
So what happens is the person reading the Megillah will often then repeat the name Haman a second time.
Right.
In case someone missed hearing that word.
Yes.
Because the noise had already started.
But if you're out of the room, does it matter?
If you're out of the room, then you miss the whole thing.
Yeah.
So then you got to start from scratch. But I always have an issue with that because it's not nice to repeat Haman's name. Yes, we've got to say his name.
Yeah.
Because it's important to recognize that in this world, there are imperfections. There are evil people. That does exist. There are people who want to do evil, I should say.
Yes.
But So we got to know that, and we have to recognize it. At the same time, we don't have to repeat it. We don't have to make that the focus. So back to your question about Haman and the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that noise, we're actually fulfilling a mitzvah when we're doing that noise, and that is there's a mitzvah to wipe out the name of Amalek. So there's this sort of nation
Gotcha.
who represent the antithesis of godliness in this world. They are sort of opposed, the Jewish people when they were just sort of a very, very young nation.
Yeah.
Amalek attacked them just because of what they stood for. So Amalek sort of stands for the opposite of what
So
we stand
Amalek
for.
and Haman are like
Yeah.
bad guys. The bad guys.
so
Are they
Haman-
are they two guys together?
Well, Amalek is an original guy who's a very interesting fellow. He's actually a grandson of Esav. I don't know if you know who Esav is. He's one of the four bears. Like he was the son of Isaac,
Yes.
right? So Esav had a grandson called Amalek, and Amalek sort of fostered a nation that harbored a lot of resentment, issues towards the Jewish
Gotcha.
people. And they became sort of the arch rivals of the Jewish people throughout history. And Haman was a descendant of this nation.
Does Goliath come through those? Are they mates?
You are a man of very wide knowledge. So Goliath is not a Amalekite. He's actually a Philistine. He's from the Pelishtim. So
Gotcha.
a different group, and not as sort of seen as negatively as Amalek.
Right.
But still a rival of the Jewish people. Certainly the times of King David and King Shaul, etc.
Big battles.
Saul.
David, Goliath, Haman,
Yeah.
Amalek. These guys sound quite scary, but that's why I get it now. You in the Megillah, you read the name, make the noise, so you remember in a way how bad it was. Is that what it's all about?
Yeah, we remember the idea that hey, there is such thing as people who want to do bad to us. We've got to remember that. We've got to be active in terms of removing those threats.
Yes.
At the same time, we also have to remember that we've got Hashem on our side, so everything's going to be okay at the end.
Yes.
And if it's not okay, then it's not the end.
Did we ever think about maybe not reading out his name? Or is that bad? That's like the opposite of what I just said. What you just said. I guess,
You got to. Well, you got to read out his name, because I said every word of the Megillah is important, and I think there's a message there, and that is that you've got to be able to confront the idea that there are forces in this world that are negative. You can't turn your eyes away from that and pretend everything is hunky-dory.
True. Where are we now? Well, next question was, so in terms of Purim, Rav, which book of the Torah does it say, hey, in end of February or end of what month are we in? Isar, Nisan?
Adar.
When's Nisan? Is it
Nisan's next month. Yeah.
So Nisan is in Nisan
almost
the
there.
car or Nisar?
Well, Nisan the car took it from us. Actually,
Did they? There you go.
Well, we took it from the Babylonians.
Gotcha.
But that month of Nisan, that's in a fortnight's time.
So Rav, which book of the Torah or wherever are we discussing Purim? Where does it have that? Or is it just not in there?
You're spot on. It is in the Torah. So the Tanakh, which is sort of the canon of the Bible, right? So that's in 3 sections.
Gotcha.
There's a section called the Torah, which is the Bible. Then there's called Nevi'im, which are the prophets.
Gotcha.
And then there's Ketuvim, which are the writings.
Gotcha.
And this is the writings. So it's one of the last books of the Tanakh. And that's where the story is sort of canonized. Did you ever encounter the story of Esther in your education?
Well, look, in terms of what we had at my school, it was like in terms of like Old Testament, New Testament. But yeah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Psalms and Proverbs and everything.
Okay, so it's the same book as Psalms and Proverbs. So Psalms and Proverbs all belong to the book called Ketuvim, which is writings. And this is one of those writings. As a matter of fact, just a point of interest for you.
Yeah.
The Megillah, Esther, the book of Esther,
Yes.
is the only text in the entire Bible that does not mention God's name at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But then
Now why do you think that is?
Maybe because is it just maybe the book of Esther, if we're talking about, that's where Purim is mentioned, yeah? Is that what?
Yeah. That's the story.
So maybe because it's all about the battle of the Jewish people and not about God, maybe?
Okay, but what do you mean it's not about God? Well, think about the mask. What's the mask all about?
The mask is about people, like human people.
Humans. So we are doing things, but what's behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes is God.
Yes,
So
true.
the Megillah is a book which actually doesn't have any God superficially,
Gotcha.
but behind the scenes of the Megillah, everything's God.
Is that mask line a proverb, Rav?
That mask line is that it's Well, we can make it a proverb. It's not an official proverb.
I mean, Proverbs, I can't remember on the top of my head, but is it, give a man a fish and he'll fish for a day or whatever?
Yeah, that's more a contemporary proverb.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, the idea of the mask. I'm trying to
Turn the other cheek. Is that one?
No,
is that another one?
That's not our book. That's the Christian book.
Gotcha.
We don't turn the other cheek.
An eye for an eye?
We just punch right back.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Is that part of the... Yeah?
That's ours.
Gotcha.
But the idea of a mask, it's a good question. I'm sure, our listeners can probably think of an episode where masks are mentioned in Proverbs.
We'll have a look at it, for sure.
But I offhand, nothing comes to mind.
Okay. It's been interesting. I've asked the top 5 of all time. Okay, well, last question. This one is directed about around the world, like Israel and everywhere else where there's Jewish communities. Do you think, like with Purim, is it the same in Israel? Like, is it the same, like, costumes and everything? Like, you got Halloween in America, Purim overseas in the US. Have you ever experienced Purim in Israel or the US or anywhere else?
So
where is it the biggest? Like, where's the biggest Purim party?
So, Daska, first of all, your questions are always absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
You should be a vodcast host forever. So, number one, I'm going to answer your question with a yes and a no. I'm going to say that, number one, it's the same everywhere. But then I'm going to tell you that it's different. We're going to start with the same. It's the same everywhere because one of the great things about being a part of the Jewish people is that we sort of have a commonality with people in all sorts of countries. There's people living all over the world, and what binds us is not that we live in a common land, but that we actually practice common customs and common laws.
Yes.
So Purim is an example where no matter where you go in the world, as a observant Jew, you'll recognize all the behaviors and all the customs, and you'll feel right at home because they're doing it the same. It's the same basic stuff. At the same time, and this is getting to the other side, it's different. And every country sort of gives its flavor and its spin on things. I've spent Purim in California. It was very memorable. And I've spent a Purim in Israel. In Israel, what's great is that in certain cities, Purim's on a different day. So, and the history of that, I'm not going to go into here because it's going to kill you.
Okay.
But essentially, the idea is that you can actually get 2 days of Purim. So if you're a Purim junkie, like my little daughter, you can get Purim, on a Friday, and then you travel to another city where Purim is on the Saturday, on the Shabbos. And so you can sort of end up getting 2 Purims.
Have we had a Purim on Shabbos before? Does that happen?
It never happens outside of Israel, and within Israel, it only happens in certain cities.
But it's happening on Friday.
It's Friday here.
Yeah.
So it has. The last time I happened on Friday, I think it was 2008.
Oh, that was my first year at Yavneh, I remember.
So it's probably all a blur.
And that it was a blur, but it was, I wasn't really prompted. They just said, it's a festival. And I was like, wow, this is something.
It's actually amazing. I remember also Sherilyn's first Purim. I don't think she quite expected what was going to follow because it's crazy. Like,
they had wild animals, camels. I'm like,
exactly. And every kid's just dressed up as some sort of, toothpaste or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's crazy. But I just want to get back to this question.
Yes.
The place that does Purim the best in the entire world, I kid you not, is Melbourne. We do Purim.
Bruv, that is a huge call. That is... Wait. You're saying Melbourne is the big call, and you're dropping the rim shots here again. Why Melbourne? That is a big call, Ruv.
I don't know what it is, but I find that the Melbourne Jewish community really know how to enjoy themselves.
Okay.
So when it comes to a day like Purim, the place becomes alive. There's lots going on. There's so many different, depending on which community you belong to, there's so many different choices of, activities and festivities to get involved in. And it's just, and maybe I am obviously biased, but I really enjoy Purim here.
Okay. So the average Purim day for the teachers here starts off really early for me because I'm a year 11 and 12 mentor. And then, I get to go home, etc. But then, Rav, what happens after you finish school is the Shabbat dinner. We're not getting off topic. We've got plenty of time. But the Shabbat dinner on Purim, is it different to every other Shabbat dinner?
So every Purim has a feast, and that feast is normally in the afternoon or the evening, and that feast can go until the end of Purim, till it gets dark.
Yeah.
This year, because it's Friday, so there's a number of different ways of doing the feast. Probably the most classic way that people will be doing it is they'll start their feast before the magical time of 4:48 p.m.
4:48. That's the time.
That's the magical time. That's the 10th halachic hour of the day.
Of course. Anything after 4:48 and you're in big trouble, correct?
That's right. Well, you can keep eating after that as long as you washed for bread and you began the meal before
Yes.
that time. And then the idea is you eat, you feast. You're meant to have, those are over 18 are meant to drink plenty of wine at that meal as well. It's meant to be a very sort of spirited meal. And then you're meant to then sort of finish and then take a bit of a break to build up an appetite for Shabbat.
Gotcha.
Now, you've got to have a very seasoned sort of appetite building mechanism to be able to build an appetite between, 5, or no, let's say you finish your meal at 6.
Yeah.
And then Shabbat's coming in at about 8 o'clock. So you got 2 hours to build a robust appetite for the Shabbat meal. So we're actually going to have 2 pretty big meals in quick succession.
Do you have to change your clothes to the Shabbat clothes?
Yeah, spot on. So you're going to have a shower.
Yeah.
You're going to go to shul and do your Shabbat prayers. And,
Huge.
And before you go to shul, you're going to get dressed in your Shabbat finery. Take off your costume, etc., and then come back to a relatively normal Shabbat meal. I mean, obviously, you'll still be feeling the effects of the Purim meal.
I've got all sorts of Shabbat questions now, but I think we're going to keep that for another time where we can do these, whenever we can, whenever we're free, because we're both busy teachers here at Yavneh, but we're going to have students coming in using this equipment, seeing how they go with that. We're going to train up the tech crew, but for now, this test has been a pleasure. It's been great, and it's answered a lot of my questions. Hopefully it answers a lot of other teachers' questions too.
Can I just ask you one question?
Yeah, sure.
So why do we dress up on Purim?
Well, we dress up, again, about the mask, about wearing the mask and doing good deeds while wearing a mask.
Oh, the real us. The real us.
The real us. And it makes sense.
The real us is good. The real us is good. That's the key message.
I mean, I know it's silly to think of Batman or superheroes, but Batman wears a mask to do good, but he doesn't want to show his identity. That's the thing, because he's Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't want everyone else to know that he's Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne is a billionaire and he's meant to be this, as if you'd say that Batman's that. But it's interesting how you've said how they wear masks. But yeah, enough of that. I think that's pretty much the end of this podcast/vodcast. I want to thank our sponsors, Yavneh College, Sound Booth, and Rabbi Cowen. And which kosher food do we usually get delivered to us?
Hamantaschen.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm actually going to be making them this afternoon with about 18 students at the Cooking Through Tradition Club. It's a recipe that is absolutely spot on.
Well, one thing, I love the hamantaschen. I love the strawberry jam, blackberry jam, everything in there. Not a huge fan of the apricot ones, but when they're made with love and nachas and ruach, it's all beautiful.
They will be. And come on down, 4:15 today. You can join the Hamantaschen Club just at the foyer next to the tuck shop.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Rabbi Cowen, this has been a fantastic discussion. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you to all our viewers, and thank you, Yavneh College. See you soon.
Have a good one. Thanks, Daska.
Bye.